You're listening to Stimulus Tech Talk, a conversation-based podcast created by Stimulus Technologies that covers a range of topics related to business and technology.
Hello, welcome to Stimulus Tech Talk. I'm Nathan Whittacre, CEO of Stimulus Technologies, and we're excited to greet a guest today, Jeremy Grater. And he is an experienced podcaster, so I feel a little bit out of my league talking to you today, but he's been podcasting since August of 2004 and has extensive experience in podcast management, broadcast production, hosting, editing, and done thousands of podcasts over the years. So welcome, Jeremy. Thanks for being on
thank
here.
you. I'm excited to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
My pleasure. So tell us a little bit more about your background. I gave a brief overview, but who are you and what have you done in the past?
Professionally, I spent about 20 years in commercial radio, working mostly in news and talk. And at the beginning stages of that, I actually discovered podcasting and got pretty excited about it and kind of dove in head first. But it was always pretty much a hobby, and we can get into more of that later. But yeah, for the most part, I've been running commercial radio programs for 20 years. And the last few years, professionally, I've been working with podcasters, trying to help them grow and monetize their podcasts, and really just make sure that when they do get lucky enough to find a listener who finds their show, that what they listen to, they enjoy and stick around and tell others about it. So that's pretty much what I've been doing for the last couple of decades for a job.
So 2004, yeah. I'm sure there wasn't many podcasts around at that time.
No, there weren't many. There were certainly a handful. Some of them are still around today, not many. But the biggest challenge that we faced then was trying to explain what a podcast was. If you went searching for any information on how to do it better, it all came down to, well, you have to explain what it is. Don't be afraid to put a video on your website that says, this is how to download it. You have to go to Apple and download this. And it was very much just a matter of teaching the audience how to even use it before it was a matter of, is this the right content for that audience?
And I'm sure that the platforms have changed over time. You mentioned Apple, but they weren't, they had some platforms, but the iPhone wasn't around yet in 2004. So what type of platforms and how's that changed over time in podcasting?
I thought the iPhone was there. Cause that was the whole, I guess it was iPod,
right.
Yeah. It came from. It's changed a lot. I've been lucky enough. I've been with the same hosting provider since then. I remember when my brother had the idea to start this podcast, I went looking for where is this going to live? And I had the brilliant idea of building a MySpace page to host it. And so I built the whole thing and put up all the logos and all the stuff. And then I got to the part where I was like, where's the audio going to live? How does that even work? And so I had to kind of go back to the drawing board, but I found Libsyn, Liberated Syndication. They were this brand new podcast hosting company. And we thought, wow, let's give this a try. And we've been with them now for 20 years. But yeah, beyond that, the amount of podcatchers and different sites where you can get it now, it's crazy to me every time I watch a movie or hear some reference to podcasting in mainstream media. When I think back to those days of, duct tape and wire and trying to, stick things together to make them work. It was an uphill climb for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting, with whatever we're doing in technology, the transition, even a brief period of time, 20 years, isn't that long in the history of the world, but man, it changes so fast with technology.
Yeah. Just, in the last year, especially with AI and things, it's moving so quickly.
Yeah, we'll certainly get into that towards the end of our conversation, because I want to know about a little bit more about AI and how it's changing it. So in your day-to-day, what do you do as a podcast consultant? What does that mean?
So that's changed a little bit. I work professionally for Riverside.fm now. So now I'm working more with, exposing the platform to different businesses and making sure they're optimizing it and using it for the best, to the best of its abilities. Prior to that, I was a podcast coach. And so that was a lot of, reviewing content, making sure that when people, the first 30 to 90 seconds of their show was engaging and compelling, so that when someone just did discover it, they understood what was in it for them to listen. So they would put the phone back in their pocket and keep listening. It was also a matter of teaching them how to monetize. I had clients that literally, when I would ask them, have you done a call to action in your episode? Have you told anyone about your products or services? And they just went, no, I haven't tried that. And so it's just like little things like that, just like pointing out the sort of the obvious blind spots from my point of view that could help improve either sales or engagement or whatever. to also just helping them come up with ideas and content and crafting what the mission of their story was that they were trying to get out in the world, and, helping them be better interviewers. It ran the gamut of from, how do I even do this? What technology do I need, to what is the content and how do I make it so that the audience will actually enjoy it?
And you mentioned when you started it, you're putting things together with duct tape, and I'm sure the technology side of things, we're a technology focused podcast here. So I'm sure that's changed dramatically over the years. So is it easier today to start a podcast, or is it?
Goodness. Yeah. I mean, you really don't need much, but the fact that, what we're doing right now, I had dreams of in 2004. Like, I wish there was just a website you could go to and hit record and everybody was there. Because my show, when I first started podcasting, it was me and my brother, and we lived 2 states away from each other. So we had to figure out, how do we connect remote? And at that time it was Skype. And it was like, now how do we record that? How's that captured? And I remember going into American Music in Seattle and asking them, hey, I'm doing this podcast. How can I record a virtual conversation? And they just looked at me like, what are you talking about, dude? And they sold me some device that was supposed to do it. Totally did not work. So eventually we did figure out, I was lucky enough to work at a radio station. We were able to figure out some ways through the technology we had there to make it work. But the fact that now you can send someone a link and have however many people your host site can handle at a time, having these super high quality video and audio recordings is unbelievable. The interface I'm using right now, I use the Rodecaster, the original one. The fact that I've got my media button so I can play wacky music and sound effects whenever I want. That was a dream in 2004. I wanted that so badly. And instead I had to have pre-recorded like MP3s on my desktop and like double click them at the right time. And it always just led to chaos and a mess. So it has really evolved a lot in 20 years.
So if somebody wanted to get started today, what would you recommend to them, both on the technology side and to find listeners? I mean, that's the two things. You could just talk to the wall all day long and nobody will listen to you. But from a technology standpoint, let's start there. What does somebody need today to get started with podcasting?
Really, your phone. I mean, you really don't need more than that. And it depends on how serious you want to be about it. But if somebody just wants to sort of test the waters and see if this is something they want to do, I mean, there's plenty of sites like Anchor that will host you for free. And you literally can just record into your phone, just a solo podcast, 5-10 minutes a day, 5-10 minutes a week, whatever you have in you. You can start with that. From there, you can totally upscale. You can get the big mixing board, the interface. You can get the higher end mics that I just bumped into with my hand like a professional. There's lots of things you can do, and there's plenty of free options. There's plenty of free hosting sites, like I mentioned. Anchor is one. I think Libsyn still has a free plan. And then, sites like my company, Riverside, you can use that for free to a limited degree and with watermarks and things like that. So, I mean, there's so many different options. It really does come down to what are you aiming to do? And maybe more importantly is how much stamina do you have to get through it? Because most people don't make it past episode 7.
Yay, we're well past that here. So that's great.
Nice. Yeah, it's good because this is the thing. Everyone wants to believe when there's, doom scrolling on Instagram that they can start a podcast and in a couple of months have money just flying in the window because their content is so amazing. There is the occasional unicorn that can pull that off. Most people are going to slog away for months, if not years, before building any kind of an audience that they can monetize. And you really have to love what you're doing, and you have to love the message that you're sending, and it has to be super important to you. Because when you check those downloads and you're still in double digits for that episode, you just start to feel like, I'm yelling into the wind. I can do this on Twitter, you really have to believe in it and seek out strategies to grow it.
I think that's for us. What I've learned is all things marketing has to be scheduled. I mean, our marketing manager, Sherry, and I have a recurring meeting at the beginning of the week that we're, finalizing the plans for the webinars or the podcasts or things that we're doing later in the week. And it's just automatically on our schedule. We know we're going to do it. We, work on getting guests and things like that in, but it is a bit of a slog to do that, but it's, we're having fun with it, and it takes a lot of time to do it, but you're finally starting to get some traction with it.
Nice.
So topics, I guess that's the next question is again, there's, tens of thousands. I don't even know the quantity, maybe hundreds of thousands of podcasts out there. if you are a business leader, which we were talking to mostly as business leaders, how do you come up with an engaging topic that would lead somebody to listen to your podcast?
Yeah. So just quickly, I think the current number is around 400,000 something active podcasts. So it's not quite as saturated as people want you to believe. In terms of topics, especially if you do have a business and you have customers, whatever conversations you're having with them is content. Whatever they tell you, whatever problems they're having, whatever solutions you have for them, always have some sort of a notepad with you and write it down. Like this is a topic, because if they're having that problem, somebody else is too. It's one of the most overlooked things, I think, in podcasting. So many people think, I've got this great idea. I'm going to just start recording stuff and put it out there and it's going to solve problems. But you haven't done the market research. You don't know if there really is a problem there to solve. You don't really know if there is an audience that's seeking that content. But if you already have a business, you're already interacting with potential listeners, and they're going to be coming to you with their problems. And if you can solve them for them in person, turn that around and turn it into content for other people, and then tell that customer, because the odds are they know somebody who's going through the same thing. They might share that episode with somebody else. And even from the standpoint of trying to launch a podcast, get involved in Facebook groups, get involved in places where people are having the conversations about the problem you're trying to solve, and discover what they want from that content and just create it for them. It's a lot easier to sell something when you know there's already an audience that wants to buy it.
It kind of reminds me, as you're talking about the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Napoleon Hill. And he often talks in there, it's not about you, it's about them. So I think that's what you're saying, right? Yeah. It's focusing on who your audience is and what they want, not what you want to talk about.
So many podcasters go into it making it about them and what they want to say and what they want to do. And the more you make it about that potential listener, the more they're going to eat it up.
Great. So you have a topic, you focus on who your potential customers or listeners are. Kind of going back to the technology of it, any tips or tricks on editing the podcast? There's different ones that live stream, where we record and then publish later. What are your feelings on different ways of editing? Should they be over edited? Should you record and post later? What are your thoughts?
Again, it depends on the format, right? If you've got a really narrative heavy podcast, that's going to be one where you're going to take chunks, you're going to move them around. That most compelling stuff, you're going to move it to the front. You're going to add in a better question than the one you asked at that time that is going to be answered in a better way than it was recorded. The best editing, though, is done before the record button's ever hit. The more research you've done, the more you know about the person you're talking about, or the more you know about the topic, it's going to save you a lot of ums and uhs and stammering around trying to figure out what the point was you were trying to make in the recording. If you're ready and you go in and you know what you're going to be talking about, it's going to be a lot easier. I have never been a big fan of the overproduced, heavily musical shows. Like I'm in it for the conversation. I want to know, what am I going to learn from this person? How are they going to improve my life, improve my business, whatever it is it's going to be. So I just like to listen. I like to be the fly on the wall listening to a conversation. The minute I start hearing like a lot of music and feeling it like it's overproduced, I feel manipulated, and I feel like it's not like an authentic experience. It feels like it's something that's being manufactured to make me take action in a way that doesn't feel normal to me. I want to be friends with the host. I want to trust that what they're telling me is true and maybe helpful. And I want to trust that they've vetted their guest, that, it has information that's going to improve my life. So beyond that, once you start making it like too overproduced, that's when I start to check out. That's me. That's a personal preference. NPR would take a completely different take on that, but that's where I come from.
Well, that's an interesting point. I mean, you've been on the radio side of it and the broadcast media, and then podcasting is different. What do you see the differences between the two? Or are they so similar that it's just a different way of getting the message across?
No, I think they're pretty different. I mean, with broadcasting, it's one to many. With podcasting, it's one to one. Radio can still be, and from the host perspective, should be thought of as one to one. But with radio, you're very lucky in that it just exists, and somebody's in their car scanning around trying to find something to entertain them, unless they've plugged in their iPhone or whatever to get that, to pick whatever they want on demand. But with radio, you have to constantly reset topics. You have to constantly re-engage new listeners that may have come in. Podcasting, they read the description. They know what's there. You don't have to do a whole lot. Like, introduce your topic, introduce who you are, introduce who your guest is, and what the audience is going to get out of it. After that, just be my friend. just be someone I can engage with and teach me something or improve my life or entertain me. But that's what I'm there for, is a companionship. Like whether it's a long flight or a long car ride or I'm in the gym or whatever, I just want someone to spend the time with. I don't need it to be more than just hanging out with somebody.
So that actually brings on again a little bit different topic, is video versus non-video. YouTube has recently allowed for podcastings to be produced with video. What are your feelings on the difference to audio only or video, or should podcasters do both and let whoever is listening choose?
Yeah, this is the big debate right now. There's so many people that despise the fact that a YouTube video is being called a podcast. They're two different things. It's not right. They're infringing on our. Look, the audience is going to be where the audience is going to be. And if you look deeply at most of the research around YouTube and podcasting, people are excited about it because podcast discovery has been a problem since podcasting. And when people say now how they're discovering podcasts, they're saying, oh, YouTube. And so all these podcasters are losing their mind thinking, oh, I've got to produce a high-end video that's on YouTube now. No, you don't. Discovery is happening because of shorts. People are scrolling through YouTube shorts and they're finding the Joe Rogan clip and whatever other podcast clip they're seeing. And it's getting them to check out that podcast. Not necessarily on YouTube. Don't get me wrong. Like, I can hear people yelling at me right now. I listen to all my podcasts on YouTube. What are you talking about? Cool. Some of you do. I've seen plenty of shows that publish an audio only, just a static image on YouTube, and it gets 0 hits or hundreds of hits or thousands of hits. It just depends on the show, the niche, how well they're marketing. There's any number of variables that go into that. But I would say if you are a podcaster and you don't want to do video, don't do video. If you don't have the capacity to do it, don't do it. People have more time in their day to listen to you than they do to watch you. So stick to audio if that's what you want to do. If you have the ability through a StreamYard or a Riverside or whatever to record video, and all of these platforms, I know Riverside does, have tools now to make clips for you. And even if they're not great, if it's not perfect, it's close enough. And you can push that out there as part of your marketing. And that's where people are going to discover that video and come over and check out your podcast.
So you mentioned getting the podcasts out there and doing these shorts. That kind of goes into editing a little bit more. So is there technologies out there that, that are great for editing podcasts, adding intros, creating those short videos, getting the marketing done? Any recommendations for that?
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, like I said, Riverside has it built in. There's other tools like video.ai. It's vidyo.ai. They'll automatically create clips for you. There's they either go by opus.pro or .clip. Same thing, automatically creating videos. There's one that's kind of in beta right now that I've been really excited about and using for a while. It's called Hypernatural. And they not only make the talking head video, but they can splice in through 100% AI, all kinds of images to make the videos more interesting. So they can be pencil drawings or digital art or photography. And it just makes it a little bit more dynamic. And I think you're going to see a lot more of that probably in the next year, because I know they're on it. So I'm sure there's competitors. So that kind of thing can be really cool. There are tools like Descript that will do everything. It's got B-roll built into it. It's got, the AI or the transcription editing. So whatever you edit in the text comes out of the audio or the video, however you're working. So there's a number of tools you can use to make your editing process a lot easier.
So you brought up AI a bit. What are you seeing the role of AI in podcasting? Are you seeing it being used to generate potential questions or content? What about transcription, things like that? Where are you seeing AI taking podcasting?
Oh man, it's kind of unlimited and it's kind of scary. I know of podcasts that exist that are purely like conceptualized, written, recorded, and published automatically. Like no human intervention at all. And these things are getting published daily. And it sounds like a person, talking into the microphone. It's incredible. For your average user, tons of potential. If you've got a tool that's transcribing your podcast, take that transcript, and you can go to any AI tool. I like Claude.ai. Everyone's excited about ChatGPT. Plug it in there. Have it write a blog based on that content. Have it write promotional material, have it write all of your social media captions, have it write tweets for you, like whatever you're writing, it will write for you. The thing that I like about using a transcript or using something that you created first is that, and this speaking for myself, I'm not a great writer. but I'm able to take my ideas and have them written in a way that is easier for someone to read. So a lot of times, if I don't necessarily have an idea for a show, I'll just take a walk in the woods and talk into my voice recorder on my phone about whatever I'm feeling, whatever I'm going through. And I'll take that audio and I'll dump it into a transcript tool and I'll work with AI. It's a content partner. You can ask it, what is the main theme of what I talked about here? What are some of the pain points I addressed? And you can really get to the heart of what could be really great content for somebody in a similar situation that you're going through. So I think as long as you're starting with your perspective first and not relying on the robot to be the generator of the idea, it's really an unlimited tool of potential.
So when you're talking about, let's just rewind just a second, all these automatic, when the AI is generating the content, how does a listener distinguish between a podcast that, might be a deep fake, even image of somebody? Is there a way to distinguish and understand, that these are real people, it's real content versus AI generated? Or is there a way right now to do that?
It's only going to get harder. Yeah, I've heard music broadcasts or like a radio station, a virtual radio station, where there is a DJ that comes in and tells stories and adds his opinion about whatever happened with that song, tells the backstory of that story. And it's completely AI. There's no human being involved. And it's mind blowing and it's incredibly entertaining and it's great. So I don't know that it's, well, I do know it's not going to get easier. And, unless gatekeepers at Google and everybody start, implementing some system of identifying what that is, I don't know that you're going to be able to. And that's going to open up a lot of scary possibilities.
It's interesting for me from a technology perspective, because I'm always excited about new technologies, new things that are out there. And I do, there's certain things that you get scared about technology, whether it's, automated vehicle driving or pilotless planes or, deep fake videos and audio and things like that. There's constantly evolutions in this. So I guess we'll see, what happens in the future and how we deal with it as a society. All this stuff is getting generated. So I guess, how do we stay relevant? I mean, we're two humans. I think we're humans.
Yeah.
Talking here. How do we stay relevant to, against all this content that's being created by, other people, one, and then AI generated, number two?
Yeah. I think it's going to be hard, but I think the advice I have with this is the same that I have with any podcaster who's trying to find their niche. You are your niche. Whatever you're talking about, you can talk about anything you want, and your show can be called whatever you want. But people, much like the talk radio host of the 70s, 80s, and 90s, people are looking for companionship. They're looking for a friend. And the more authentically human you are, the more I think the listener is going to connect to that. So if you're sharing your struggles, if you're sharing whatever you're working on, trying to get better at, or lessons you've learned, that's gonna ring true to the person who's going through the same thing. And so I would say, I mean, this flies in the face of everything I've taught for a long time, and it's just because I just have a new perspective on it. I don't think you have to talk about one thing all of the time and the few things that attach to it. I think you could talk about whatever you're into, because people want to connect with you, the person. So the more you can show up and be authentically you, which I think is harder for a lot of people than the industry would like you to admit, that's where you're going to connect with people. The more you can just show up and be yourself, I think that's how people are going to connect with you.
Oh, that's interesting. I'm reading a book. I'm an avid reader, and I'm reading a book by Joe Polish right now. It's What's in It for Them, and that's the main theme of the book. Because I'm a bit of an introvert, and so being out in the public, networking, business networking like that is sometimes difficult, and you want to put on this image of this great CEO, it's a great communicator, and sometimes that's hard, right? It's hard for me, and so that's an interesting perspective of. It's important for us to be individuals, and there'll be different people that'll connect with us.
Yeah, people can sense when you're wearing the mask, and I just know that the best connections I've made with people are the people that I feel like I showed them the real me, and they stuck around. And so, if you're trying to be something that you're not, I think people will see through it, and I think there's a trust factor there that gets in the way. So, I think it's okay to say like, hey, I don't know a lot about this. I'm new to this, whatever, like just share whatever your experience is. And odds are the person you're talking to maybe has the experience you need and can help you get to where you're trying to go. But if you show up trying to be something you're not, I just don't think that helps you grow as a person or your network or your audience or whatever.
That's great advice. Great advice. So you mentioned towards the beginning about monetizing a podcast. So how do you do that? I mean, I'm sure a lot of podcasters want to make money doing it. I mean, it's time out of the day and the week. And how do you monetize it? Are there different avenues?
Yeah, I like Dave Jackson's rule of podcast monetization. There's only two ways to do it: either sell something you make or serve, or someone else's product. That's what it comes down to. And so you have to have an audience. I mean, let's be real. You can't do a show that nobody listens to and sell a product to an audience that isn't there. There's lots of people that are going to tell you that you need 10,000 downloads per episode before you can even think about monetizing. It's not true. It depends on what monetization means. Are you okay with making $20 a month to cover your hosting fee? That's pretty easy to do. If you've got a few hundred listeners to your podcast, you can start reaching out to the companies that sell the kinds of things that they're interested in and ask them for small sponsorship fees. Like, you don't have to it doesn't have to replace your full-time job tomorrow, right? It can be enough to pay for itself and to pay for some of the time you're putting into it. So it really just comes down to where or to what monetization means to you and going after it. But you do have to ask for it, right? You got to put yourself out there. You have to be a little vulnerable. And I would suggest, if you have a podcast and you're trying to figure it out, listen to your competitors who's advertising on their podcasts and reach out and say, hey, I heard you advertising on show X. Would you consider adding me to the portfolio? Because odds are, if they're advertising there, that's one of like 100 clients that they're advertising something on. And so they've just got to find a way to move the budget from the one that maybe isn't working as well to over to yours. So there's that. Additionally, if there is some perspective you have, if you do have a course or a book or whatever content you have, whatever your expertise is, sell it, right? Like, mention it in the show, mention it early in the show. Don't wait until the end when 50% of the audience is bailed. Mention it up front, not the first thing, right? Give me some content, give me a reason to trust you, give me a reason to like you. But if you've got something that can help me, I'm probably going to buy it. So that's another way to go. And then finally, there's always, a Patreon or a Buy Me a Coffee, where if you're just trying to, put a little extra content out there for somebody, or early access to an episode, that sort of thing, there's always benefits you can add to a platform like that to make a few bucks from your audience.
Now, there's some people that have gone into the like pay to listen type podcasts, maybe a news personality, things like that. To get to that point, what do you need to have, or is it a number of listeners, or is that even something that is pursuable at this point?
Again, it comes down to the size of your audience. If it's a big enough show and there's enough demand, people will pay for that. If it's something where your typical podcast has, 5, 8, 10 minutes of ads, and people know I can buy that 10 minutes back by subscribing for $3 a month, they might do that, right? If they're going to get the ad-free version. So again, let's make this about the audience. What's in it for them? Why should they subscribe? Why should they pay for access to you? Is it because you're just that good? Or can you somehow make the experience better for them? Is there something more you can give them? Can you give them more content? Can you give them early access? Can you give them some prize pack once a month or whatever it is? Like, if you can make it, what's the line that's escaping, but it's something like, give them an offer that they would be stupid to say no to, right? If it's $4 a month, what are they going to get for $4 a month that's going to blow their mind and make it just obvious that they should be paying for it?
Oh, perfect. So you run a couple of podcasts. Maybe you can mention what you do and what you've how our listeners can find you.
Yeah, so the podcast I'm currently hosting is it's called The Fit Mess, and it's basically a men's mental health podcast. My co-host and I are both really into just self-improvement, trying to make our lives a little bit better, step by step. So we just talk about our own struggles. Again, that vulnerability, being authentic, being open about not being the expert, not shouting from the mountaintop about how to improve your life, but just pointing from around the corner that, hey, we found a shortcut. Let's go this way. And so we do that at thefitmess.com. It's a new episode every week. And we'd love to have you there.
Oh, perfect. And we'll put some links at the bottom of the podcast to how to find Jeremy. So I really appreciate you being on today. And it's a very interesting conversation. As of course, as Stimulus has been developing this podcast this year. And it's interesting to learn a little bit more about how to do it and how to be better. So hopefully our audience learned. I'm sure that we have some people that are thinking about doing it as part of it. And so other than the podcast, what's the best way to reach out to you? Do you have a website that they can visit?
I do. You can go to Greater Good. So it's my last name, Grater, greatergoodpodcasts.com. Or I would imagine there's a lot of people listening to this on LinkedIn. You can always look me up on LinkedIn and reach out there. I'm happy to help.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Jeremy, for being on. And thank you to everybody joining us today. And this is Stimulus Tech Talk, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks, everybody.